What's going on, you guys? This is Cooked Vegetables back in here with another podcast for you guys, man. How is everybody doing? I hope you're doing absolutely amazing, fantastic, wherever you happen to be in the world. The title of today's podcast is going to be Excessive Lust Makes You Unnecessarily Vulnerable. All healthy men have a natural inclination towards physical intimacy with women, and this is nothing to be ashamed of. After all, without this natural inclination of men towards women, our species would have died out a long time ago. All that being said, when this natural affinity men have towards women is allowed to get out of hand, it takes the ugly form of the spirit of lust, which leads men to all sorts of compromised situations that result in destruction. Below, I have listed a number of ways I was unnecessarily vulnerable to ridiculous situations during my Coomer days. First, vulnerability to the spirit of Delilah and or Jezebel. The spirit of lust led me into many relationships with women who were consumed by the spirit of Jezebel and Delilah. These spirits have only one goal: to destroy a man's God-ordained purpose by any means necessary. This spirit can do it through character assassination, false accusations, and downright sabotage, amongst many other tactics. When I had no sexual control, any woman who was half decent looking could easily gain access to my inner sanctum. As a result, I found myself constantly caught in the web of many Delilahs and Jezebels. For either of these spirits to do real harm to you, they need to first get close. Now, this might not be limited to just physical proximity. It could be energetic proximity, i.e., you think of them all the time. It could be sexual proximity, God forbid. It could be work proximity, i.e., you work with them on a day-to-day basis. Either way, proximity to this spirit is a very dangerous thing and should be avoided at all cost. When you become a retainer, you are constantly presented with multiple options in all avenues of your life, which makes it a lot easier to spot this sort of trouble, steer clear, and entertain better options. Next, vulnerability to income loss. Many retainers have reported increased earning potential while adhering to sexual discipline. This may sound like woo-woo spiritual psychobabble to the uninitiated, but believe me when I say this is true. During my Coomer days, I was stuck in a job I hated because I didn't have any options. My energy was so low back then that I probably came across as unappealing to people that were hiring. Heck, now that I look back at the situation, I probably wouldn't have hired me back then either. As a retainer, there seem to be a lot more options for employment, so if one source of income dries up for whatever reason, I can easily find another. The other way that a man who doesn't have his lust under control could be unnecessarily vulnerable is through his conduct with the women around him. Women love attention from men, and some may flirt with you just to get it. If you respond in any sort of way that she eventually deems inappropriate, whatever the bleep that means, you might find yourself landed in front of Sally from HR answering awkward questions, if you know what I mean. A man with sexual self-control will be reluctant to put himself in any sort of sexually suggestive situation with a coworker. Simply put, he doesn't defecate where he eats, making him much less vulnerable to these sorts of shenanigans. Next, vulnerability to disrespect. Retaining your seed gives you an aura that makes people slightly afraid of you for whatever reason. This causes people to automatically respect you and think twice before messing with you. As a Coomer, I was a burly guy who lifted weights, but for some reason, everyone wanted to take a turn messing with me. This really used to confuse me back then until I came to understand how the spiritual world actually worked. Now that my spiritual aura is much brighter due to retention and masculine purity, people show me a lot more respect. Even on the odd occasion when one of Satan's demonically possessed idiots tries something with me, it is like God quickly inserts someone into the conversation who savagely shuts them down before they can do any real damage. Next, vulnerability to illness. Being sexually loose wastes your life force, which weakens your immune system and makes you a lot more vulnerable to all sorts of annoying illnesses like the common cold. Also, wanton sex with impure women carries a high risk of contracting sexually transmitted diseases. I haven't ever had one, but I don't imagine they are any fun. And last, a vulnerability to deception or manipulation. As a Kuma, my intuitive senses were massively dulled, which meant my spiritual vision was cloudy at best. As a result of this, I fell into deceptive trap after deceptive trap, which led me down to the pits of hell over and over again. I always seemed to trust the wrong people, which came with severe consequences. As a retainer, I can now clearly see who is trustworthy and who is not. And for some reason, it doesn't take as much effort to resist the phonies like it used to in the past. The above are examples that came to mind while pondering this topic. I am certain that there are many more that you lot have experienced in your own journeys. Either way, please heed these words and avoid these unnecessarily pitfalls when these opportunities inevitably present themselves. I am rooting for you and always here with a word of encouragement. Till next time, brothers, Godspeed and remain blessed. Brother Cooked.